4, 3, 2, 1. Wiggle, 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 go, wiggle, 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 go, wiggle, 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 go, wiggle, 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 stop.
Hello, my name is Christian Misla. This is my tutorial for making level terrain. So, previously you saw Ava teach about UI and gray boxing. So today we're going to be talking about the terrain editor. So at the top of your screen right up here, you'll see an option called editor, and right under it will say terrain. When you click it, it creates a little box at the side that gives you a bunch of new options. So there are three main categories with the terrain editor. There's the create option, the region option, and the edit option. Each of them do their own different thing. The one that we're going to start with is create. So create's going to be the way that we make our main terrain form. So in here we have three separate options. We have our generate option, import, and clear. Clear is a very simple one. When you click clear, it will make a pop-up saying yes or no. If you click yes, so right now we have no terrain in our world, but if there was, all the terrain in the world would be removed. Let's say you had a code for terrain or anything like that, you can import it into your game. But if we want to start with a blank one, just like how we do right here, we're going to hit the generate, and we can see right away that the generate one makes a blue box with little circles appear. This blue box is going to be our template for our terrain. So I'm going to make the terrain a nice little size box. So I'll do it like this, where it won't be too big or small, but it gives us a nice little bit of work with because the Roblox characters are pretty small, so this will be a nice big chunk of terrain. So in here, there are two different things we could do. One was what I just did, where I click on these circles to move them, to move this, or I could just type in my coordinates that I want. So I could, let's say I wanted to, if I knew a chord for a position on the map that I wanted my terrain I could just put the chords right there. Same thing with the size. Maybe I already have a built-in size in mind. So maybe I just wanted my Y to be 300. I could do something like that. So it's pretty simple. The main thing right here is the material settings. So this is how we can make our terrain look like a certain thing. So for a nice basic one, I'm going to click plains, water, and mountain. I'm not going to mess with biome size. So depending on the size of your terrain. So mine isn't as big as it looks. So I don't really want to mess with the biome sizes. What I really do want to mess with is the cave systems. So this button gives me the option to make any terrain system that I want in my game, like pre-made ones, and I really don't want any right now, so I'm just going to uncheck it. The other option here is seed. So let's say you are using the same thing that I have and you have the exact same chords that I have with size. You can type in the seed and it would be the same. It should generate the same seed as the previous one, or the one that I am making right now. So because I don't have a already wanting seed or size, I'm going to leave everything else the same, and I'm going to hit generate. So you can see at the top right here, it's showing how much progress the terrain is, and you can actually see it slowly form itself and build on. So once I finish that, I can hit generate and uncheck that, unclick generate, so now the blue box is gone. And as I move around, you can see this is my terrain. So the plains, for some reason, is like a nice muddy texture. You can see the water in action right here. So now we have a nice sized lake, and my mountains are pretty nice looking. And if I wanted to show you the comparison of this terrain, I can click here to play here, and it'll teleport my character instead of the spawn point to the spot right here. So you can see this is how the terrain looks right now. So because my character is pretty small, it would take quite a bit for my character to go from one side of the terrain to the other. Terrains are built in, so they already come with grass, they come with snow, depending on the thing you pick, and they have a lot to be edited with. So let's start talking about the other two options. So the create one, that's all they have there. Again, if I wanted to clear it, I can clear it right here. So I can hit yes, and you can see it automatically removes that terrain. So I'm just going to quickly undo that. So the region one, let's say we have a nice mountain that we like, and we really just don't want to try to make a new one. We just kind of want to cut it out. So what I can do is I can click select, and I can make a new blue box that I can use these squares to slowly map out what I like. So for example, maybe I really like this section of the terrain. but I just don't like the position it's at. I can click move, and you can see that I'm moving it, so it actually carves out where the terrain is and allows me to move it. So it's as simple as moving it, and you see it carves out. So here's where the previous location was at. I can also resize it. Maybe I liked it and I just wanted to make it bigger. I can resize it here, and now I have an interesting looking terrain. And because I resized it down a lot, it actually moves it down in the other terrain too. So the region tool really works well with pre-resisting terrains. Another thing it's really good at is actually copying and pasting. So let's say I had made multiple terrains and there's just like a really good hill or mountain point that would look good in a different terrain that I'm working on. I can copy it and then I can paste it wherever I like and use the move tool again to just work with it. So you can see right here, I'm I pasted it so I have the same exact thing and I'm able to move it. Or maybe I just don't like that. So anything in this selection option that I previously made is what's getting affected. And last option they have here, other than the rotate tool, is the field tool. So maybe I wanted to make a new section in my terrain right here. Maybe I didn't expect my terrain to need to be longer, so I don't, and now I'm expecting it to be longer. So right here, I can make a nice little section here. I can click fill, and I can pick what material I want to fill it with. So maybe I just want this whole section to be water. So I click fill, and now if we look, this whole spot that was in the selection is now water. Maybe I wanted it to just be grass. Now you can see this whole thing's grass. So that's how the region tool works. It's a really good and useful tool for editing, making new edits in terrain. Now the fun part comes with the edit tool. So the edit tool has quite a few different options, and we'll start from the beginning. So the add tool. In the add tool, we have our basic brush settings. So I can pick the shape of my brush. You can see it highlighted in blue in the game. I'm going to pick the circle, just keep it like a nice circle. I can choose the size if I want. I can choose plane lock. So what plane lock means is, if I do auto, you can see there's this gray checkered box that now appears where my mouse is. And that is based on my position of how I'm looking. So maybe I want to only edit things going up or something like this. It will keep it plane locked instead of it being off, where maybe you see when I have it off, instead of it staying forward, it now goes downwards. So depending on how you want to build your terrain with the add tool, the plane lock is a very useful thing. So like for now we have some other options. Ignore water is a big one. So for example, what I mean by that is this is not ignoring the water. So I can mess with the water and add onto it or just place circles on it. If I click this, it's not really affecting the water. So like for example, what I mean by that is really comes into effect with the subtract tool, where I'm right about to get to. The last thing about the add tool, and a lot of these tools actually, is just this material section. This material section allows me to place different materials. So you saw how I was placing grass earlier. Now you can see that I can place other materials that I like. So for example, this is a bunch of snow that I can just add onto the ground. So next we have subtract. So just like how add automatically added where this circle is, subtract does the complete opposite, where it removes it. So this is where this ignore water comes now. So you see that I'm deleting the grass here, but I'm not deleting the water. The only reason this water right here looks deleted was because there was grass already in it that messed it up. If I click ignore water, you can see now my blue circle is really showing on the water, and that's because I can now remove it. Ignore parts is just like like Ava showed us, these are what parts are. So if I have ignore parts removed, I would be able to affect the parts, but right now, because these are anchored, it really won't affect them. Normally, you will keep ignore parts on, and depending on how the terrain you want to make works, you'll keep ignore water on most of the time too. The grow tool works the same way as the add tool, but instead of it being a quick and fast add of the circle, it's a slow process of adding. So it gives you a more detailed way to draw onto your terrain. So let's say I wanted to add, so you see how I have these cut off parts that I did before. Maybe I want to add onto them and grow it out so it looks like a nice hill going up. So I want to make my terrain more natural that way. Maybe I want to go over here and slowly start growing a hill from this wall onto this empty platform. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just slowly growing it compared to the add tool where it's just like this, where you can see it kind of gets out of hand too fast. Erode is the same way as grow, but it works like the subtract tool. So instead of immediately going to being a cutout of the circle, it is slowly doing it, allowing the player to have more range in their work as they slowly draw onto their canvas. The smooth tool kind of works like the erode tool, but its main purpose is to smoothen out rough edges. So for example, I placed a bunch of these circles. Maybe I want to kind of try to smooth it out so it's not immediately popping up circle-like. And now you see it's more flattened and just a nice, more realistic way of this being a thing. So now this kind of looks more like this was already here than it did previously. And you can see I'm slowly just smoothing it out more and more. And the more I smooth it, the more it affects the terrain. And the longer I have it in one spot, the more it kind of removes that spot slowly. Next, we have the flatten tool. So the flatten tool automatically has this the plane that I showed earlier. And the reason is for that is wherever the plane is where you're flattening to. So because my plane is underneath this hill, you can see it's slowly starting to remove this hill, or it will slowly start to raise things up to be up to the plane now. So we have 3 more options. So we have the paint tool. The paint tool is probably one of my favorite tools because I mentioned earlier how the planes came with a muddy looking terrain. I'm able to take, for example, I can grab the grass tool and I can just, instead of adding on like with the grow or erode tool, I can just turn this mud into grass and make it look natural. The issue is the paint tool doesn't just pick one thing it wants to change. It changes anything that gets like hovered over with the circle. Luckily, there's another option called replace that works exactly like the paint tool, but it it lets you pick. Sorry about that. So right here, the source material is mud. I'm targeting the mud to change right here, and I'm turning it into this brick. So to get a better view, I want to turn the mud into lava right here. So you can see with the erase tool, I am affecting the mud and turning it back into lava now. And if I accidentally, let's say I'm drawing and I accidentally go over grass, it's not immediately affecting the grass. And let's say I want to do the same thing again, where I want to change the lava into water. So you see anywhere there that was water, I can hover over and turn it straight into water. Anywhere there's lava, I can turn it straight into water. And because just like all parts, it has the ignore water part. So if I do the ignore water, I can now target the water and turn that into whatever I want. So I want to turn this water into sand now. Maybe I don't want to do all of the water, so I wouldn't use the box tool, the box version. I just want to use the brush version where I can choose and pick where I do it. The last option we have is the sea level. So the sea level gives you a giant box, and when you hit create, it will automatically place water in that giant box. It's kind of like the fill tool. The difference is this only does it with water. And then I can click evaporate and just get rid of all the water. So now you can see that all the water I just finished replacing or adding on is automatically gone now. So those are the basic tools of the terrain editor. The most important thing about the terrain editor is just taking your time and patience with all the tools given to you. You're able to make whatever you want with all these tools available. The biggest thing is just knowing to take your time and be patient with it, because you won't be able to make perfect terrains right off the start. It will take time and it will take patience. Other than that, the tools are very simple to get the hang of, and because it's Roblox Studios, it is a very simple thing just to use overall. So with that, have a nice day. Bye.